Welcome to teleSUR English. We go live to the Vatican City at this moment, as today is the Pope, the conclave to the election of the Pope is starting the official ceremony. We are looking at live images at this moment as the awaited conclave for the election of the Pope that will succeed late Pope Francis is beginning. Let's recall that according to protocol, this was the day set for the conclave to begin. It did so with an initiating mass that took place today. Also, one of the very important ceremonial moments of the day is the swearing of secrecy for all the cardinals involved in a process that will take place in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican City. Let's recall that the secrecy status of the conclave is one of its key aspects, and it has been for centuries. This is to avoid any external interference external interference in the process of electing the Pope. We continue to see images at this moment. Let's recall that among the ceremonial acts that happen today, there's a mass that initiates the process of the conclave. Then all the participants have sworn secrecy in the process that begins today and will have them locked in and without any form of communication to the outside as they involve in this process in which they will be voting to elect the next Pope among the possible cardinals. 133 cardinals will be taking part in these secret elections. Let's recall the process by which this election will take place. Today being the first day of the conclave. After all, the cardinals are inside the Sistine Chapel and the conclave begins. The first voting will take place. This is the only day of the conclave that will have only one voting instance. The voting is done one by one, with each cardinal writing their elected pope in a piece of paper. Then the votes are counted. If the number of votes coincide with the number of electors, they are proceeded to be examined one by one, and in that context, a result is obtained. Let's recall that for a pope to be elected, it is necessary that 2/3 of the entirety of the conclave are participating and have voted for one option. So 2/3 of the cardinals need to elect and coincide on one specific name for that person to be elected as Pope and leader of the Catholic Church. So what we are seeing now is the prayer of the cardinals. They're at the Pauline Chapel. And this is one of the instances that initiates this 2025 conclave that begins today and will continue until the process of electing the Pope comes to an end, and we have a name for Pope Francis' successor. So we're looking at the cardinal's prayer at Pauline Chapel. Among the most important ceremonial processes of the day have to do with the cardinals praying for the Holy Spirit to guide them in the process that they are about to begin today. Let's recall that being the ancient institution that it is, the Catholic Church has every step of this process very much detailed. Every detail is taken care of and every detail is stipulated and has to do with maintaining traditions that, of course, then have to be rethought according to every era. For example, the secrecy status of the process of the conclave in modern ages has had to include technological blocks so that no information can come in or out of the deliberation of the cardinals in the Sistine Chapel. What used to be done just by locking the chapel and the cardinals in now also needs to involve different technologies that are supposed to maintain this conclave, the deliberations, and also the voting in secret. So we are looking at one of the instances of the day. The first day of the conclave, the cardinals are now in the Pauline Chapel. They are initiating this process. They will later go into the Sistine Chapel, where the conclave will begin. And let's recall today, first day of the conclave that is starting with these ceremonies, is the only day that will have one voting moment, a voting process that concludes with the burning of the votes and the smoke, black or white, coming out of the ceremonial chimney placed in the Sistine Chapel. Let's recall that the way, and this has been for centuries in this way, the way in which the world will find out if the conclave has had a positive result or not in terms of electing a new pope, has to do with the color of the smoke that will come out of that chimney. So the world will be looking at that chimney today and possibly for the days to come, looking for a white smoke signal in case of a new pope being elected, or a black smoke signal that indicates that an election has not yet arrived to a name and that the process will need to continue until that is effective. We are looking now at one of the prayers that the cardinals are holding in the Pauline Chapel. We said that two key points on this ceremonial masses before the actual conclave begins have to do, on the one hand, with asking for the Holy Spirit for guidance in the process. Let's recall that this is the prayer at the Pauline Chapel. They are asking the Holy Spirit to guide them in their election that is coming.
The conclave, the ceremony is beginning with, is being conducted under Cardinal Parolin. And he begins in the name of the with the sign of the cross, and a liturgical greeting to the cardinals. He says, "May the Lord, who directs our hearts in the charity and patience of Christ, be with you all." The response, "and with your spirit." And then a word of instruction to his brother cardinals. "Venerable brothers, having celebrated the divine mysteries," they celebrated the Mass for the election of a new pontiff earlier today in St. Peter's Basilica. And he continues, "Let's now enter into the conclave to elect the Roman pontiff." He then recites a short prayer. "May the universal church, joined with us in common prayer, invoke without delay the grace of the Holy Spirit, so that one from among us might be elected a worthy pastor of the whole flock of Christ." He continues, "May the Lord direct our steps in the way of truth, that through the intercession of the Blessed Mary, ever Virgin, of the blessed apostles Peter and Paul, and of all the saints, we might always do what is pleasing to him." As we mentioned, the procession is now beginning with the cross-bearer and candles, and of the saints, where we see alternating the cantors and those taking part in the procession.
From the Pauline Chapel, as this first day of the conclave is beginning with the ceremony, as the cardinals are asking the Holy Spirit to guide them in the election that will begin, they will now head to the Sistine Chapel, where the conclave will officially begin. These were images from the Vatican City. We were looking at the cardinals holding a prayer at the Pauline Chapel. This before the official conclave begins in the Sistine Chapel. Let's recall that this is the first day of the conclave to elect a new pope, the successor of Pope Francis. We will continue to bring you more information on this topic. Stay tuned with teleSUR English.